Whether it's at a casino or any other setting, this is just a variation on the tried and true method of trying to extract money from losers, affinity scamming, and by association. So there's this market like the NFT market where I don't know if you remember this from even 2 years ago. There was a pump and dump for about 18 months and it was great to see OpenSea with a bunch of NFTs or something like that. And their prices all dropped by 95, 98, or 99%. All it was a pump and dump, really. Yet another pump and dump operation. All they're doing is attempting to affiliate scam Bitcoin in order to make it appear like something is happening, even though all the other evidence against Bitcoin has now vanished. Also, Ether is in the same boat. Thus, this is merely the most recent iteration of a con. Max Keiser claims that over the long term, all assets tend to move towards zero in relation to Bitcoin. Included in it are fiat money as well as various digital currencies. Bitcoin, according to Max's most recent declaration, is unstoppable. Why Bitcoin is the best cryptocurrency ever was something Max and Stacy recently talked about. Max provided his market projections and thoughts on where Bitcoin is expected to go in 2024. Max also discussed Ethereum and other altcoins from his point of view, delving into the complex world of digital assets outside Bitcoin. He focused on the difficulties of riding out market ups and downs, highlighting the need of staying strong and determined even when things go tough. In order to achieve success, one must took responsibility of their actions and attempted to determine the source of their error. Why am I not performing better? Those who fail at life often act as if they've never messed up, try to deny the reality of their mistakes, and keep making the same mistakes in the hopes that they'll eventually succeed. Not to mention the fact that they had to turn down agreements worth millions of dollars in order to say no during the 2016 to 2017 period when the initial coin offering scam was at its peak. At that moment, I thought, you know what? We're going to go down this path of Bitcoin-only Bitcoin maximalism and try to develop that is Bitcoin maximalism. What does that brand mean? It was the beginning of my Bitcoin maximalism. So when Michael Saylor emerged in 2020, he essentially became the embodiment of Bitcoin maximalism. I believe, though, that it bubbled up. In a sense, the cypherpunks were maximalists from the start. However, we began to lean toward maximalism about the year 2020172016. From 2020 onward, I believe Michael Saylor essentially came up with the script for maximalism. I understand how they function, therefore I assume that's how they were codified. Like we said, I am familiar with how the IMF operates. Regards to the centralization of power, therefore exposed. And to address Stacy's point about El Salvador being a nation state and about maximalism, it was only logical for the country to embrace a maximalist stance as well, given the president's stance on economic liberty. Additionally, it was determined that Bitcoin maximalism, with its far-reaching benefits and a 10,000 to 1 chance of incremental gain from entertaining any shitcoin whatsoever, cannot add any. Ordinals are essentially the same, like people who attach graffiti or vandalism to Bitcoin, and they are by no means outdone by Bitcoin simply because it is eternal and a stunning work of art that will endure forever. Additionally, there must be a reason why some individuals would hurl soup at the Mona Lisa, for example. They may claim to be activists or concerned about environmental protection. Of course, plus the folks at Ordinal think what they're doing is really good for society. Their intended goal has eluded me, but I recall that it has a philosophical underpinning that even Aristotle could see. I find one humorous one to be slightly more. They act as if they're humorous when in fact they genuinely believe this. In addition, if you attend one of their performances, you might find yourself thinking, okay, as they don a wizard's hat and proclaim themselves to be hilarious. No, this is serious. This was just covered in Jimmy Song's latest song. Indeed, he likened it to Master Coin, which is, after all, nothing more than a tired old ploy. First, let us define ordinals. This is just my opinion. JPEG refuses to be explained. It's as if this is simply garbage. Layer it, all right. It is far from being a JPEG. It's similar to a JPEG, but with a lot of flaws, like an inferior AI version used in virtual reality and incredibly intricate. A single set will cost you around the same as one Bitcoin. I understand. And that great? I mean, isn't it funny? It's strange that there are so many people prepared to do it. Imagine Times Square in the 1970s or 1980s. That's about it. Some travelers do show some bizarre stuff. So you're trying to con Bitcoin tourists for a long time, huh? They're for sale. Think about it, you're basically trading them one set of Bitcoin for two. Furthermore, they are simply saying that. However, in 2012 or 2013, we had a product named Coin. They introduced a layer called Coin and raised a large amount of Bitcoin, or maybe it was a little later. And that's the incentive scheme, so they never really created anything. One interesting aspect of Bitcoin is the incentive model, which serves to maintain the system's functionality. How likely is it that Jeff Bezos would have established Amazon if you offered him this much money to implement your idea? If Elon Musk hadn't invented SpaceX, Tesla, and everything else, what would have happened? If you had told him, here's 300 billion, he could have thought, I'm just going to be a playboy all over the world. This would have been particularly true when he was younger. I appreciate it. I will be at Sin City. You know what happens with coins that do pre-sales, right? We'll find out. Consequently, master currency became a source of shame. They changed its name to Omni. However, that was only this week. It's as if they're disabling it. In essence, it has concluded. I see. It has been turned off at last. Yes, essentially due to the fact that a tether was the last remaining purpose for it. Yet that has vanished. Sure enough, that's it. With the ordinals, it's essentially the same thing. They're attempting to promote a second layer and appear to be comedians, but it's simply a second layer. Plus, they're similar to a female comedian. Think of them as Max in that respect. It's basically the newest con. In that respect, though, I find it to be similar to vandalism, but when I consider it in the context of folks who are attempting to generate ideas, this is about what I get. Despite this, it isn't just meaningless, foolish nonsense that will be forgotten and replaced with another fraud as soon as it sinks to the bottom of the pile. Just like the con artists never stop. What they do is simply give them a new name. Simply put, this is master currency with a new twist, as Jimmy Song put it. The U.S. Department of Justice and other regulatory bodies are currently investigating everybody involved in the creation of these tokens, therefore it's safe to say that this will be the last cycle of them. Instead, they are introducing a second layer on top of Bitcoin, and they are doing it under the Bitcoin brand because it is the only one that has been recognized by everyone, including Wall Street, as being unique and significant. Also, Wall Street isn't getting it. Even Larry Fink might be perplexed by Bitcoin's unique qualities. However, he is aware that they are the ones to sell their Ether coin, which they used in conjunction with NFTs. They were clinging to the crap because they were still living. To all appearances, it may yet be something. All the con artists have moved from ETH to Bitcoin now that it's falling like a stone against Bitcoin. A number of the larger shit currencies, including this one, have recently declared their intention to switch to Bitcoin. That makes them the second layer of Bitcoin. When Bitcoin reaches 60,000, 70,000, 80,000, 100,000, or 125,000, it will enter this cycle. As it continues to rise in the sky, you may expect to see increasingly outlandish items offered on Max's yo-yos. For example, Duncan may begin selling yo-yos on the blockchain, namely the Bitcoin blockchain. And that is exactly what will appear after this. No doubt about it. People will keep donating a Bitcoin for a single set because they can't sum it all up, which is hilarious. Stacy adds that while bear markets are tough, bull markets are even tougher. One of the things that Max and I have been doing here at the Bitcoin office and with El Salvador in general is trying to persuade the most brilliant minds to make El Salvador their permanent home. This includes their headquarters, their spiritual home, their real home, and their physical home. Additionally, our longevity has been an advantage